Hello everybody, welcome to another Microsoft Flight Simulator video. For this one, this will also be a precursor to a flight video. This is going to show how I flight plan. Now I'm not going to do it how I sometimes do it. This is how I do it when I want to go somewhere and can't find things in the exact ways that I want them. So, I have a bunch of apps down here. A couple of them are unnecessary to be open right now, like Flight Recorder, that's just to record flights and stuff. Little nav map, I have up whenever the sim is on, just as kind of a habit thing. We're going to be flight planning using SimBrief. SimBrief and Navigraph have actually merged now and are one and the same, which is actually very convenient. I also purchased the Navigraph subscription, so I finally, for the first time in my several-year sim career, have up-to-date nav data. I believe it's still up to date right now. It says current, I'm going to trust it. So you're going to see a bunch of information. I'm going to go through it in a level of detail. I also use ProjectFly to track my flights. So we're going to actually be doing this flight, but I am going to back all the way to here. Can I go back to where I was? No, I cannot. So we're going to ignore this. This was, I think, the first flight I did on ProjectFly, so we're going to pretend that didn't happen. So, ProjectFly, we'll bring over here for right now. And currently I have game sounds turned off because there is a very loud pushback tug idling right outside the plane, and it is so loud. Okay. I'm actually going to save this flight information. I'm going to finish this flight planning. I probably should have finished here as well. And then I'm going to, ooh, that was loud. I'm going to go ahead. We'll get all the way to this point at some point, or by the end of this video. I always download FS 2020 and VADSIM because I normally fly on VADSIM and I like to use little nav map, and I'll just load up the flight plan off of that. Currently, the two aircraft that I have that use specific flight plan files, I have those. I don't know of any others right now. I don't know if the Just Flight 146 uses it or not, but I do know that I think the fly-by-wire A320 uses just the FS 2020 plans, and that's okay. So, when you first log into SimBrief, oh, that's the 21st. Okay. Oh, that's 2021. Goodness gracious. Okay, when you first go to SimBrief, you'll be met with this. You can create an account. That makes things so much easier if you're going to be using this consistently. You of course have the about, register. I'm not going to do that. You can create an account if you want. You have your dispatch system, you have your helps and supports. I actually haven't used either of these, and I've never had to use support so far. You can just click on dispatch for now. You'll have all of these options. New flight, of course, will bring you. I have an itchy nose today. My allergies have been acting up because it is summer in Georgia. Rather, spring. This will be how the flight plan page loads by default. I don't think. Okay, of course, minus the pilot ID and captain name. I think there might be settings so that you can have some of these loaded up. I think these two I changed and saved. I'm not sure, but this is how it loads up by default. You can open the aircraft editor. I have a bunch of planes saved. It makes flight planning much easier. And then you have a massive list of airplanes. Of course, not everything is here, so if you want to fly planes that aren't very common, you kind of have to plan with something similar if you want to use SimBrief, unfortunately. Or some people have gone in and edited, like, I don't know, 737 for an example. They've gone in and edited the file to more closely match whatever plane they want to fly. Edit flight brings you to the same thing. We're just going to close that out. Briefing. This is once you have a flight plan loaded, like this is the flight plan that was just loaded. Houston to San Diego. I want to get this plane to San Diego because then I'm going to fly from San Diego all the way up to either Boston or farther up into Maine. But that will be another day. Gives you all your information. Zero fuel weight, takeoff weight, fuel, how much extra fuel you wanted, and rough airtime. My flights brings you to all the flights you've created. Okay. And a 717. Huh. I don't remember flying that. Maybe I do? No, I don't. There of course is a large jump here. This is the first time I flew in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Not first flight. The first time I did like an actual VATSIM flight was in the CRJ 550 and had an issue with it. Actually, I've had a recurring issue with the autopilot. It kind of sucks. I'm actually going to delete that one. I don't know why I have it up. But yes. This flight here in the 777 was the last time I flew in my Flight Simulator X. This is the first time I flew in Microsoft Flight Simulator on VATSIM. And of course, as you can see, I've done a ton of flights since then. Love flying, love using SimBrief. You can go to My Fleet. That has all the airplanes you saved. I'm actually going to delete that because Salty's 747, while much better at the moment than the default, still isn't to the point where I'm comfortable flying it. Database, I've actually never used these. Database and user guide, not going to touch on those, although this is a user guide. It's kind of self-explanatory. I'm not going to go to my account because I don't know what information shows up. Okay, new flight. I'm going to be using the old flight, so I'm actually going to go to My Flights, load this, and make sure everything is how I wanted it. Okay. So in this case, I don't have like a set amount of passengers freight that I'm carrying, so I'm just going to let it plan for me so it has everything under its control. And we're going to go over to bookings on ProjectFly, and you can see I already made the flight. Okay, so basically you're going to put in your departure airfield, and then if you want an arrival airfield, if you know where you want to fly, you can put it in here, but you can also not put in an arrival. You can go through all of these different flights here. You can filter by aircraft, by airline, stuff like that. Then once, actually, no, back to bookings. We'll do Atlanta to Savannah? Yes, Savannah, Hilton Head. I live up by Atlanta, and Savannah's like, I guess, the place in Georgia where a lot of people go to the ocean. because there's not much Georgia to go to the ocean with. Then you can search flights. Ooh, bummer. Okay. Of course, it gives you all of these. Is that Republic? Republic Airways, nice. Okay. It gives you all of these options, tells you when these specific flights are operated, stuff like that. It does have some historical flights with some historical aircraft. ProjectFly, I think, has actually a bigger airplane offering, and Fleet, you can just customize your planes. Again, it's more of a personal thing instead of just a general aircraft. Actually, I think you need a fleet to complete flights. But you're going to just select whatever flight you want. Then it brings you to this. You can change any of the information, select the aircraft that you want. I guess you actually do need the aircraft. Or you can add new aircraft. Then you can change all of this information. I don't think you want to change the departure arrival because that's actually what you're planning for. You can do any of that. You can do any of that. Change your departure and arrival time and what network you're flying on. We're not going to go farther than that, actually. We're going to go back to here because once you hit dispatch, it brings you to this page. And now we go back to SimBrief. So at this point, I would normally take the call sign. So in this case, American 991. It was actually United 991 because there wasn't an American flight. But I just changed it to American because that's the plane I currently have in Houston. You put in your departure and arrival, and I think you can... I think it's just an automatic alternate. Then, of course, you choose what airplane you want to fly. In this case, it's the American 737 with the split winglets. You can change any of this. I think this is your cost index. So you can set a default cost index, but I'm going to leave it in auto so that it kind of plans better on its own. The registration FIN number and SILCAL code, as long as call sign, you kind of have to set those. They're saved with this plane, so the plane's tail number is November 908, November. I don't think it has an actual FIN number. Not that I can see. Normally, I just take 3 numbers from the registration and make that the FIN number. Or if there aren't numbers in the registration, if there aren't 3 numbers, I make it up. The SILCAL code, I believe the 737 is ETOPS. Yes, it is ETOPS, and I guess that doesn't mean that it is going to have the SILCAL equipment in, but in this case it does. So that's the SILCAL code. I've never actually seen it used on VATSIM, even though it is an option, so I'd like to see it when it's used. Okay, so then it'll give you your rough flight time, your departure and arrival runways automatically calculated. These aren't what's going to be used on VATSIM most likely, in my experience. Sometimes it's right, sometimes they're just different. You can plan for extra fuel. In this case, we'll put an extra whoops, wrong button. An extra 2,700 for this flight. I'm going to leave it on an automatic altitude. Passengers, you can set freight, you can set zero fuel weight, you can set, and I think it'll calculate those automatically. I don't know, I think you could just give your dispatcher a name. I don't actually know how that works, I just leave it. It comes up with a name each time. And then of course you got your captain's name, and here's my pilot ID. I guess you can put dispatch remarks, but I don't ever leave remarks. It calculates your top 4 routes. So in this case, we'll be flying 1,138 miles, which compared to the Great Circle route is only an addition of 0.7%. we could fly this one, which is the exact same, but different. Okay. This one is a tiny bit longer, and this one is probably going to be, yeah, that's a little bit longer. Normally the top one's the best, but it's not always the one in use. And really, you can change this to a custom routing if you wanted. You just got to click Analyze. It'll tell you if it's good or not, and it'll tell you how far you're flying and how much further compared to the Great Circle route. Which, of course, if you look at it on a 2D map, the Great Circle route would kind of do an arc. Wouldn't be a very pronounced arc, but if we were to go from, like, San Diego up to way up here, we'd probably go way up over to, like, over the northern part of Michigan, and then that's probably actually greatly exaggerated. We'll probably go, like, over that way to wherever in Maine we go. So the Great Circle route is just because the Earth is round and not a 2D map. The shortest distance isn't going to be a straight line on a 2D map. The shortest distance is actually going to look like a longer distance on a 2D map, despite actually being the shortest possible distance. So there isn't much of a deviation in this case. And for this flight, we're just leaving it up here. I don't know about the debug parameters. I've never used these before. Sometimes I actually rarely use I think I've used this once or twice. Now it's just to insert a North Atlantic track. I've never used these two specifically, or any of this, actually. I literally just use it to insert a track. Just to insert a track. I don't remember why. Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't use historical weather. FSX, I think you had the option, and I think it worked right, but I never used it. Although I guess I could using ActiSky. Here you could probably, I guess you can customize your alternates if you're going to be flying over water. Okay, a large body of water like an ocean. I guess you can change your ETOP scenario. I've never even looked at that. I've actually never looked at anything other than a route finder. Of course, you can change all this to how you want. I normally have 30 minutes and 30 minutes. 30-minute reserves, I think that gives you, depending on how long each missed approach takes, that probably could give you anywhere between 1 and 3 or 4, if they're quick. My thing is, if I do 2 missed approaches, after that second go around, I'm going to the alternate. This time I could probably shoot another approach or 2 with the extra 2,700 pounds that I don't actually need. You know what? I'm going to turn that off. If you wanted to fly extra fuel, you could. I'm not going to fly extra fuel today. Then, of course, you can save your flight, you can close the flight, you can start a new flight, or you can generate the flight plan, which is where the SimBrief downloader comes into play. If you want it to be simple and easy, you're going to have to wait a second, and then it gives you, that was loud, it gives you this. It gives you the summary of the operational flight plan, your airline, flight number, aircraft, originating and destination airport, alternate, the calculated cruise altitude, of course the date, the departure time, which is 21:30 UTC. I don't think that should be 21:30, because that's in a lot more hours than soon. Actually, it's 5. I'm not going to do this flight this morning, because it's going to take roughly 3 hours, not including setup and shutdown time. It gives you your block fuel, how much extra fuel you wanted to plan for, then of course your fuel weight, which if we go into here, Go to FSX Actions. You can go to your payload and set your zero fuel weight. In this case, it's 111. We're going to round that up to 6, so it's 111.6, and then, of course, you can have all of this set. You could save these numbers, how I would do it. You could save those numbers and click 0 on that. Actually, you know what? We're just going to reset that view. And then you can go to ground services, and once you have all of this, you can put your fuel in that you want to have fueled, then you can get the fuel truck to fuel you real time. You can have the passengers board, you can set your passengers. I'll show you where you can get these numbers. The fuel number, the passenger number, and the cargo number. It won't split it into 2 numbers for you though. I normally just divide by 2. Although, if you were to just put it into the payload, the forward cargo hold would have less than the rear cargo hold. But you could just put those numbers in here and have the services load them for you. That will take longer. This is instant. This is also instant. This, and this, they are not instant. I repeat, not instant. If you are very close to your departure time and you want to make it, you do not want to use these. That actually happened to me on the flight from Miami to here. I had a departure time and I missed it by 20 minutes because I decided to use all of this instead. Gonna reset that view again. We're just gonna go to menu for now. And we'll go back to this view. Then we'll pull up ProjectFly. So, once you get all of this, if you don't have the SimBrief FMS downloader installed, no biggie. We'll cover this in a second. No biggie, and I guess this. I've never actually seen that. I always skip right over it. We're going to go to here. So basically, it gives you all of these different formats. That's the word, formats, for the flight plan to download. So you don't actually need the installer. But when you click download, it goes to your computer's download folder. So for stuff like the Aerosoft CRJ or the PMDGs, you would have to copy it from the downloads folder to whatever folder the plane pulls out of. In the 737's case, it's user, the user profile, app data, roaming, Microsoft Flight Simulator packages, PMDG aircraft 737/work/flight plans. You'd have to copy it through this entire right here. You'd have to copy it to that destination for the plane to pull it properly. If you use it through this, you have to manually do that. If you use the SimBrief downloader, which looks, well, at first it will look like this with none of these highlighted. It'll just be all of this, and then of course you go through and select the stuff you want. But this remembers where it has to go, and in a lot of cases will know where it has to go, and when you click whenever you click something like this, it will find it and put it in here automatically. If not, of course, you gotta find it yourself, and instead of hitting cancel, you'd hit select folder, and then it'll remember that. I'd hide the formats that aren't selected, because then it just gives you a short little list like this. Once you've reached this page, the flight plan has been created and you can download it. As you saw at the beginning of this video, I downloaded it to these 3 because it's a PMDG flight that I'm going to be doing, or it's a flight I'm going to be doing in the 737, which is this line, and of course I always saved FS 2020 for little nav map, and VADSIM just to have the flight plan on file. And we're actually going to go over to little nav map. My computer's running a little slow. Where are we? KIAH. It's probably up here. Yes. I saw it. There it is. Now we load it into here. This is the end result of my first flight in the Just Flight 146. I put it in the descent right about here and went to get ice cream right about here, and it was in an idle descent with the speed brakes out. And I guess right about here is where it started to stall, and then it spun out and crashed right in this little part of the lake. I don't think it hit the ground before that. I think it just plopped into the lake and flipped over. I walked into my room and saw it because I was like, oh, I should probably go check on the descent. I walked into my room and saw the plane hit the ground and flip over. It was very close. But once you have the flight plan downloaded, before that, you can actually log into SimBrief and have it dispatch the plan for you in here. I don't normally do that because it doesn't really give you... I guess maybe it does give you... sort of the amount of control that just doing it through the website gives you. I don't like this new interface. The old interface I liked better because it pulled up a whole window that basically gave you that. I import the flight plan. And then once you import the flight plan, it gives you... I can't highlight it. It gives you the destination file. Then it gives you all the route data. KIH. Okay, it gives you all the route data. Then you click dispatch. Then in ProjectFly, it goes to your active flights. If you have flights ready but not dispatched, or you can have dispatched flights that aren't active, it would have a booked flights tab here. Then, of course, you can go through, you can dispatch and then set other flight plans as active, and then you get your Fly Now option. We're going to put that away for a second. Another nifty feature. Down here, you can pre-file for whatever network you fly on. I fly on VADSIM. I don't fly on any of... I know of IVAO. I don't fly on that. I don't fly on PilotEdge either. I think they might both actually cost money. I think at least PilotEdge does. I've never heard of POSCON, so I don't know what that is. I always pre-file a VADSIM flight plan. If I'm going to be flying on VADSIM, it gives you all of this. Here's where here's where that fleet comes in handy, because you can set some of this information, like the registration, the CellCal code, the Mode S code, and the operator. You can set those with the aircraft and it'll automatically populate this information for you. Then you can do that. There's some remarks. Then here's the important flight information, including the route. Of course, you can change all of this. You don't have to go with what SimBrief gives you. And then I'm not going to file it because I'm not going to fly tonight, but you can file the flight plan. So once you get to this point, you're basically done. But I'm going to go through a small amount of the operational flight plan here. I am by no means very experienced in this. The way I'm going to explain this to you is how I understand it. So, right here, this upper part right here kind of gives you some of your cruise information. So when we go in here, position, we go to the route, index, performance. Okay, here we go. So, cruise information. You'll see right here a CI of 7. You would put that into your cost index bar. You'll see cruise wind up here too. I put in the average wind, which in this case at this time would be coming out of 273, and then of course you have to put the slash. So the first number is for the heading, and then it'll be going roughly 35 knots. And then I guess I don't know what excludes it from being put in there. We're flying at, what was it? Fly level 340? Yes. So we'll just put 340 here. Populates that for you, so it's 273 at 35 knots. I guess it'll let you, yep, there. I think that just helps the plane plan and predict fuel better. Of course, you'll see your distance that you'll be flying. This is the Great Circle route that I was telling you about. This is the distance over the ground that I was telling you about. This is the distance over the ground. This is that deviation that you were seeing, the percent. So it's 8 miles farther than the Great Circle route, which is not bad. I've had routes where it was like 14% farther, and that was the closest you could get with the automatically planned routes. Of course, you could probably find something closer, but I don't normally do that because that takes a lot of time, and sometimes I just want to do a flight out of nowhere. I'll check the VATSIM network, see who's on, and be like, oh, and I'll fly from this airport to this airport, and I don't like go into super deep flight planning, just enough to give a decently realistic flight. So, next, it'll actually give you your alternate information here. And then your estimated weights, or your maximum on the top, right up here, gives you your maximum weights, and then your estimated weights, which we are well below all three numbers. Then, of course, you get your alternate, what did I just do? How do I get rid of it? Control-Shift-E? What did I do? Oh, there we go. Okay. So it gives you your alternate right here, and then it gives you your flight level steps. On the flight over, we actually had 2 steps. So initially, our flight level was, I think it was 360, and then our destination, our final cruise altitude was flight level 380 that we entered in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. Then you have your dispatcher remarks here. I think if you put remarks of your own in there, it'll show up there. Then you get your planned fuel, your trip fuel. In this case, the 30 minutes extra fuel to get to your alternate, and your final reserves. I normally add the plus 30 minutes and the final reserves. That would give you, we'll just do 4.5 for right now. Reserves. Then, of course, it'll tell you the minimum fuel you need to take off, which is 22,332 pounds. I'd call that 22.3, which you'd want 22.3 right there, which is both wing tanks and a good bit in the center as well. Then, of course, you have your extra fuel here if you wanted to add any. Then it gives you of course, the takeoff fuel, the fuel that you need to be taking off with, plus the extra taxi fuel. So it gives you 20 minutes of taxi time, which is 500 pounds of fuel. And of course, you get your block fuel, which is all of that added up. I'm not sure what pick extra is. I don't know why total. Oh, wait. If this had a number populated right here, then total fuel would be here, and then I guess you'd have your reason for pick extra. Not sure what the trip plus taxi, but I guess this is giving you your reserve fuel. So when I was down here, I would actually put 4.9 in the reserves. And then it says no tankering recommended. I'm not sure why. And then, of course, you have this, basically saying, I did this right. Since it's digital, I didn't sign it. There's my name. Fake telephone. Actually, I don't know if that's a real telephone number or not. I suggest not calling it, and then just a random name. I think it's different every time unless you put in a specific dispatcher name. Gives you your alternate route information. And then down here we get into our actual routing. Don't know what that's for. This basically gives you your departure airport and runway, then your SID, on route information, your STAR, standard terminal arrival, then your arrival airport and runway. Then of course you get your departure ATC clearance. I think that would be populated with like a PDC or something in the real world. I'll go up here. Then you get your times, your out time, your off block time, your on block time, and your in time, with your total block time right here. Then the weights, the important parts. FS actions, ground services. So this is where we'll just put 22 in here. 1, 2, 3. 22,000. If the fuel truck were here, we'd start fueling, but it's not, so we can't. This is where you get like your number of passengers. So in this case, it would be 108 passengers. So we'd put 108 there. And assuming, in this case, the jetway is connected and the door is open, so the conditions are met, we could actually start loading the airplane. We can see the passengers slowly getting on, and the plane will slowly get weighed down with them. Right now we don't have the carts here with the payload, but you can see the cargo is 6.5, so I just go into my calculator. The final number is going to be 3.25. I go to 6.5 just to check my math, divide that by 2, and you get 3.25, so you'd put 3250 in each one of these. And assuming conditions are met, which is basically forward loaders are connected, or the loaders are connected, and the cargo doors are open, and the carts are here, and it's basically going to be connected, but they don't like have a physical connection, then they'll show up green for start. Then of course it gives you your total payload weight, your zero fuel weight if you just want, and your max zero fuel weight. If you wanted to just set the zero fuel weight for this, that gives you your fuel, your possible extra, I guess, and your takeoff weight. I don't know why stab trim's here, and I don't know what law is. Not sure what that's for. I never really look at any of this. The next important piece of information is the wind information. I don't know if you can do climb wind. I don't know if you can do climb wind, but the important part here is your descent wind. Okay, this last little bit here. Normally, in this case, we won't be flying above 350, but if I'm flying above 350, I do not use this 350, because I honestly don't know how to add more pages. So I only have 3 lines. So I normally go with flight level 310, flight level 200, and 10,000 feet. In this case, we'd put 310, boom, 200, boom, and oh, I guess 100 does it. Okay. Then you'd put your winds in. So in this case, at flight level 310, the wind is going to be 230/56. I think this helps with planning your descent. Flight level 20 is 214 at 27. It's it's not really a short flight. It's short enough that I guess you could just go with the numbers given to you at the start. Then 10,000 is 252 at 11. I don't normally, over 2 hours, I don't normally go with the winds given to me as, correction, I don't normally go with the winds given to me before I even take off. I'll normally reload this. This is your ICAO flight plan, the fancy version. I guess this is a weather list. I don't know. I don't pay attention to anything below that, even though there is a ton, and I mean a ton of information down here, including a route chart, another route chart. I guess that's for weather up here, or clouds or something. Then it gives you your winds. So we'd have a headwind basically. Actually, we'd have a headwind the entire way, with the exception of maybe at the very beginning we'd have mostly a crosswind. I guess this gives you at different flight levels. So at our cruise level, we'd be doing okay on wind until we got over, I think that's actually still Texas. Halfway there and we're still over Texas, I think. But then the wind would pick up to, I think that's 50 knots, and then a little bit, and it'll basically be 50 knots from there on out. I guess this is winds on the vertical profile, along with terrain down here, and how the wind is affected by the terrain, which is actually interesting. I've never looked down here. Not sure what up here is at 450. But I guess the wind is upward facing for the first half of the flight, and I don't know why there's such a, oh wait, because there's no waypoints. I think that's an airway right there, so it only counts as the beginning and the end. There's no waypoints in between, but then it's mostly downward facing. I guess that would help us on the descent, and I think that's the last page of the operational flight plan. But yeah, there's many pages here. I think this is all like NOTAMs and stuff right here. Maybe, I'm not sure. I cannot go in depth on this operational flight plan, but basically at this point I'd have the airplane to some degree already started up. Like, I'd have fuel loading, I'd be turning on fuel pumps and making sure the passengers are loading, like the probe heats and window heats and stuff like that. I'd be starting the airplane up kind of as I go along, going through the operational flight plan. I'd kind of be putting information in the FMC and making sure things are going smooth and checking on the passengers and stuff like that. But we're actually going to go, wait, that's the wrong menu. Set up, panel state load, overnight. I'm going to go back here. We'll go back there, but yeah. Then of course, once you're ready to start the flight, you would connect to VATSIM, which I'm going to do just for a second. Then if you, wrong button. If you pre-filed a flight, you could fetch from server, but I didn't. Oh, if you pre-file, when you connect, you have to join with the exact, where are you going? Oh, I must have pressed the middle button there. You have to join with the exact call sign there, or whatever call sign you put in the pre-file plan, or else when you fetch from server it won't work. Or you could go to load and load up the flight plan, and there you go. And it's right there. I'm going to disconnect and actually close that. Close that because I don't need it. I'm going to close that because I also don't need it. Little nav map, lovely little tool. I suggest using it. You kind of have to do some configuring, but it's pretty nifty. I do want to have it to where like all this static traffic doesn't exist, because it is kind of annoying on VATSIM when VATSIM traffic and static traffic are at the same gate, because that doesn't like get checked by the simulator, because that's a little much. And so you just have like a 747 eating up an A320 for some reason, and then the 747 slowly pushes back, and you're like, oh, that's the VATSIM traffic. So yeah, we're also going to close this. We'll go back here. Why are you not? There you go. There you go. Now you work. Okay. So, that's it for this video. I hope this helped give some insight into how a flight sim hobbyist does their flight planning, and I hope for the newer people that helps on a level. It's not going to help on a big level. Hopefully on some level that helps. So I hope you enjoyed the video into some insights into how I flight plan. And I'm actually getting a call, so I'm going to go ahead and go. I said I was going to go, but I feel like I should add that call just nearly deafened my left ear and was spam. Which didn't surprise me, but I was very surprised on how loud it was. So, yeah. I hope it's not even a little video, it is 45 minutes long, and getting longer by the second. I hope you enjoyed this video, and the next one should be actually me flying this airplane here. Ignore the fact that it's Southwest. Should be a morning flight. I think I'll record that tomorrow morning when I get home from work. It will be a morning flight from Houston Intercon over to San Diego, and then at some point you'll see this exact plane again flying from San Diego to somewhere up in the Northeast. So hope you enjoyed this little video. I'm Buffy. I'll see you around.